So the importance of developing first-party data is widely advocated at the moment. What's your advice for smaller marketing teams for whom this is a daunting prospect?
Yeah. Daunting as far as what, right? Like the advice I've always had is don't build your house on rented land. There's always the appeal to use rented platforms. And there's nothing wrong with using rented platforms. Like if you want to be a TikToker, that can be your front end thing, but you always want to fulfill it on something you own as much as possible. So you want to get to the point where you own that customer. The only thing that you really own ever is email addresses. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's it, right? That's the one thing that you can always have permission to do. So I think that even if your audience doesn't necessarily use emails or doesn't use messaging in that way, I'd try to get to the point where you have something that you own or that you have a platform that you can easily have that conversation without having to pay for the privilege. That's sort of how I look at it, is like I always transition them to the point where you own it. Otherwise, you're way more vulnerable to a platform change, and platform changes are as certain as the sun rising in the morning. Look at how
Yeah.
much Facebook has screwed all their organic marketers on every one of their products. TikTok's going to be doing it too, right? Somebody
Mm-hmm.
you could go viral TikTok with something now, but it's not going to probably work the same way in the future. And so are you changing something for algorithms, or are you changing something for an audience? Well, when you have an audience, you own that relationship. Now, even like a subscriber on YouTube, like you'd think that a subscriber would be great, but unless YouTube favors your own subscribers over somebody else, then that can be a problem too. Even if you have a million subscribers, are those million people going to see your content? I subscribe to a ton of YouTube channels and I never see that content. Why
Yeah.
is that? It's because I'm at the mercy of what the platform chooses to do and how they choose to present it.
Yeah, that's right. I guess, daunting maybe from the perspective of the implementation to get the first party data into the platforms, maybe a technical challenge for smaller
Yeah.
marketing teams.
Yeah, I mean, there's ways to automate it. Google has customer match, although you need to be a certain amount of money spent in order for them to
Mhm.
let you do it. Facebook lets you upload a list of customers. You can also use the Pixel to sort of provide it. With Facebook, you can do the conversions API and server side where there's a little bit stronger signal. Basically, they're asking you to send your first party stuff to a third party system, right?
Yeah,
So,
straight into their database.
yeah,
Yours.
yeah. What are the lines? Like what line is crossed when you're using your first party data to push it into a third party system? I mean, part of it's that you have to live with it though. Like,
Yeah.
how do you grow your email address? How do you grow your list? You need third party platforms. There's no other way to do it, right? So you rent them. It's like a rent to own. It's like a contract for deed. Like, hey,
Mm.
you know what, Facebook, I'll pay you, but I want to own these things eventually. And then every time I email them, I own that communication, and I'll keep on paying you to stay in front of them. I'll pay property tax on this thing, but I'm not going to pay rent on it constantly.